Before we get started, just let me see, how many of you are advertising students or involved in advertising? You know, that's how this started. I was teaching at Loyola University in Chicago, and I was teaching communication and culture, and looking at the way that technology affects culture. And I had a room full of advertising students in communication studies, and so we were looking at how branding has now kind of taken over advertising. You know, advertising is you make people aware of what your product is, but branding is you gain devoted followers, okay? So we're watching this, and I was watching Barack Obama and his campaign as it began to rise in, you know, because I was in his hometown. In fact, I was just blocks away from the campaign headquarters, and I saw a correlation between the two. So that's where this started, is Barack Obama really became a case study for looking at how branding was being used in our culture. So keep that in view as we take a look at this presentation, okay?
The way we're going to go is that it's about a half-hour presentation,
Yeah.
and then we'll have opportunity for question and answer afterwards.
Sounds good.
As we have a session like this where we're going to talk about, you know, the brand, and Obama brand, I'm obviously a little nervous because he's not a brand, he's a man. It was based on sort of fundamental core principles that drove him in his desire to seek office.
He's not a brand, he's a man. Now that was Jim Margolis, one of Barack Obama's senior advisors. That was how he, after the election, wanted to describe what had just happened. Yet, in October 2008, just 3 weeks before Obama actually won the general election, hundreds of advertising executives and marketers voted to give Advertising Age's Marketer of the Year award, not to Zappos, Apple, Nike, or Coors, but to Team Obama. The Obama campaign had branded a black man with an Arab name, a junior U.S. senator holding a remarkably thin resume, a Chicago politician who had some questionable associations, as America's savior, as a political messiah. David Axelrod, Obama's chief strategist, rejected the notion that their 2008 campaign had created a political brand. Axelrod said, you know, we're not an iPod or a box of soap. And yet, Team Obama did exactly what the big brands, Apple, Oprah Winfrey, Nike, had done to create their devoted and evangelistic followers. They used the Sacred Six, a devotional code. It uses all of the 6 essential elements that you find in any religion: creation story, sacred words, sacred images, sacred rituals, true believers, and an ideal charismatic leader. Now, Team Obama engaged all 6 to create and to see their divine candidate elected. So let's briefly take a look at Apple and how they served up these 6 components to create their winning brand. And I think it'll begin to help us to understand how Team Obama branded the country's first divine presidential candidate. Let's start with Apple's creation story. Steve Jobs and his partner Steve Wozniak built the world's first truly personal computer. Where? In the Jobs family garage. Apple had sacred words: think different. iPod, iPad, iMac, iTunes. I means you. Sacred images: the bite out of the apple, or silhouettes dancing with their little white headphones in their ears. How about some of the sacred rituals that Apple has its customers engage in? Not simply just opening up the computer and hearing that ping, but you walk into any Apple store, it's like walking into what? The Temple of Mac. Or attending Macworld, the show, trade show. It's like going to the Holy of Holies. True believers? Definitely. Dedicated. Have you ever seen a Windows tattoo? No. And of course, the leader. Steve Jobs was the unmistakable leader of the brand. He will not be replaced. Now, with the Sacred Six, Apple created a devotional movement and a ravenous fan base. And in 2008, Team Obama used the Sacred Six to do the same. But their product wasn't a set of high-tech gadgets. They produced a celestial presidential candidate. They sold the country its first political messiah. Now, Obama's divine campaign started with the plan. In 2004, just weeks after Obama had been sworn into the U.S. Senate, there was a clandestine meeting. Team Obama got together and crafted the Obama brand. The plan was to get their divine candidate into the Oval Office in just 4 short years. Now, the first step of the plan was to introduce Barack Obama's creation story. The nation first heard it at the 2004 Democratic National Convention. How many of you remember hearing that speech? Okay? Now, when Obama first stepped up to the podium, really, practically no one knew who he was. Those people holding signs, they didn't know who he was, the signs with his name on them. And yet, 17 minutes later, he was the future of the party. Now, in that speech, Obama hit all of his major selling points. He told of his biracial parents' improbable love and how he overcame racism. He stood for unity. He talked about how he embodied the American dream. Now, the story that Obama told, it was inspirational. What it really was an abbreviated version of the best-selling memoir that he had written, Dreams from My Father. Now, a full 1/3 of that book talks about his time in Chicago, the 3 years that he spent working as a community organizer. That persona, community organizer, was the key, I believe, to his identity during the campaign. Not that he was a lawyer or a university professor or a state and U.S. senator, but that he was a community organizer, an outsider, a reformer with hustle and high ideals. Now, Obama is running again as a community organizer in 2012. Let's take a look at the first re-election commercial that the Obama campaign put out. Listen.
I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message. It starts with one person making a decision that things need to change, and they're going to help change them. That person finds another person who shares their values. They go out and find a few more, and before long, neighborhoods come together. Communities organize. A movement builds. It all starts with you making a decision to get involved, because we've got so much more to do. Call the number on your screen or visit joinobama.com to let me know you're in.
What did you hear? Communities organize. A movement builds. Barack Obama is not so much campaigning for re-election as he's working to rebuild a devotional movement. He's replaying his 2008 strategy in 2012. He's replaying the Sacred Six. Now, the second strategic element of the Sacred Six are the words. Americans heard what they wanted to believe in Barack Obama's sacred words. You know what they were. hope, change, believe. The words were simple, uncomplicated, easy to remember, right? But they were also very, very directive. If you were disgruntled, disenchanted with George Bush, if you wanted change led straight to Barack Obama. Experience? Experience didn't matter. In fact, experience was a liability. Barack Obama was, as Time magazine called him, the fresh face who would bring hope and change if we would only believe. Now, Obama's sacred words were on code for America. They tapped into our national identity. They went and they resonated with our Judeo-Christian roots. The idea of Americans as a chosen people, of America as a city upon a hill, shining its light out to the world. It was the Reagan message. And it was also Oprah's message. Now, Oprah told many Americans what they wanted to believe. She told us that Barack Obama was the one. So we're going to get that. It doesn't appear that that's going to play. So we'll go ahead. But chose Obama was the one. But really nothing told us that Barack Obama was the one, quite like his sacred images. Now, I want you to read this statement. Now, I heard somebody laugh a little bit. Who? Yeah. Okay, let's read it together. Barack Obama is the Messiah. Now, does that sound sort of odd? It really does, right? But take a look at this image. It's an Associated Press photo. Thousands upon thousands of such images were taken every day. What's your first impression when you see a photo like this? Or like this? Is it thoughtful? Or do you have an emotional response? Do these images generate feelings? Do they create a perception? Mainstream magazines like Time and Newsweek, they routinely showed Obama in iconic poses, looking hopeful, optimistic, even saintly. Rolling Stone was especially supportive. Does this pose remind you of anyone? Now, Ebony magazine focused on Obama's black cool, and they called him one of the 25 coolest brothers of all time. These were sacred images. Another image was Obama's logo. It created a unique visual identity, like McDonald's, Starbucks, Target, Nike. Logo Obama was instantly recognized. Some people really identified with Logo Obama. I mean, really identified. Manifest Hope was an exhibition at the 2008 Democratic National Convention. It was put on by a group called Artists for Obama. It ran for 5 days, displayed 150 pieces of Obama art, and 15,000 patrons attended that exhibition. Shepard Fairey was there with his iconic Hope image. He distributed 300,000 stickers with this image on it and 500,000 posters. 500,000. Obama was so grateful that he sent Ferry a personal letter of appreciation. And the portrait was inducted into the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery. Obama's image, in all of its varieties, gave voters hope that they would be saved from the situation that they were in if they would just believe in Obama. These were the sacred images that America saw. People heard Obama's sacred words. They had heard his creation story. They saw his images, and they believed. And they wanted to connect with Barack Obama. And so they did at his rallies and online. These were his sacred rituals. If you're with Obama, Chris Matthews told Jay Leno, you feel the spirit moving. During the closing weeks of the campaign, crowds of 50, 60, 70, up to 90,000 people amassed to hear Obama, to be in his presence. They felt elation, hysteria. People shed tears. They knew joy. And they showed dedication. True believers passed their babies to the front of auditoriums. They clamored to be close enough to touch him, to make a connection. They connected at his rallies, and they connected online. My Barack Obama, MyBo, was an interactive website that looked like Facebook. It turned every laptop into a virtual campaign office, created millions of profiles just like this, and it raised millions of dollars for the Obama campaign. Now, it's up and running again in 2012. Why? Why are people involved in these sacred rituals? Because it isn't about Barack Obama, it's about you. True believers wanted to connect with Obama. And so they went on pilgrimages. They ate in his favorite restaurants, visited his barber shop in Hyde Park. They collected sacred relics, bought Obama stuff, posed with cardboard cutouts. Some even set up Obama shrines in their homes. These were the true believers. They saw themselves in Barack Obama, and they saw Barack Obama in them. And they worked to spread his gospel. Some attended Camp Obama. Now, there were no weenie roasts or sing-alongs. It was a 4-day intensive where campaign volunteers learned strategy. They learned how to become capable organizers. Celebrities, they loved Obama, adored him. And they made videos. One of the most popular was Yes We Can. 9 million views on YouTube. How many of you have seen this? Sure. At least double that with repostings. Now, Hillary Clinton tried to connect. She had put out her own video. It didn't go over very well.
For a period of like 2-3 weeks, we were maybe the hottest band around.
Suddenly, there's this huge audience. Everybody's crammed against the wall.
Hillary takes the stage. The crowd went nuts. Changed everything. Everything. The reaction was just phenomenal.
Some people called it the comeback of the guitar solo.
She gave us an edge.
The blogs were going crazy.
You have this crucial member that you know, musically, this is the reason we're going to be the biggest band in the world.
It was like a really magical time for us as a group. It really was. But it couldn't last.
I couldn't believe it. Immediately I called Lance and I said, Dude, Hillary just quit the band.
I was like, why? And he goes, Hillary's running for president.
What happened? Well, what happened, Hillary, is you had 55-year-old ad writers writing script for 22-year-old actors. That's what happened. The blogs were going crazy. You guys talk like that? No. But the Grateful Dead, they reunited, right? So that they could raise money for Barack Obama. Bruce Springsteen sang at his rallies. Even Bob Dylan, who'd never backed a political candidate before in all of his years, endorsed Obama. Barack Obama, Dylan said, he's redefining what a politician is. And he was. And he did. The politician is charismatic leader. The politician is political messiah. During Barack Obama's first year as president, from his inauguration through to his 100th day in office, all the way to a meeting in the state dining room. Just look at that image. Does that remind you of anything? We saw a political messiah, the one that America elected in 2008. But the wars didn't end. And the economy didn't recover. And it appeared that Barack Obama had overpromised. But would he change? So the operative question in 2012 is, who is Barack Obama? Who is Barack Obama now in 2012? Who will he be during this campaign for a re-election? Well, it appears that Obamessiah is being resurrected for re-election. He's a man of the people. And he has a new, inspiring story, possibly even more inspiring than the first one.
How do we understand this president and his time in office? Do we look at the day's headlines, or do we remember what we as a country have been through?
Most documentary makers, balance these movies with the negative as well as the positive. What are the negatives in your movie about Barack Obama?
Well, I mean, the negative for me was there were too many accomplishments. I had, 17 minutes to put them all in there.
New sacred words. We can't wait. Greater together. An America built to last. We have more sacred images. Barack Obama is connecting with his true believers once again, promising to take America over the Jordan to the Promised Land. Just 4 more years. It seems that Barack Obama is running as a political messiah once again.